And we're live. We got a few
Hello.
visitors in the comments already. That's good. Well, maybe that. Sometimes those are from previous when I actually put the video on, the data before it actually
Oh,
launches.
yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if people forgot about us after not doing it for 1 week.
That's funny. It's funny because I mean, you post videos way more than I do, but I feel that way. Just if I go longer than a week posting a video, I'm like, like I keep waiting to go back and see that half my subscribers are gone or something like.
Yeah.
uh,
Hancock's calling me right now. Hold on.
oh, cool, right on.
Hey man, what's up? All right, sounds good. Bye. He's just getting home, so he's gonna get home in about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, sounds good.
So I don't have any preset topics, anything tonight. I mean, I just got done helping a neighbor move for the last couple hours, so I'm kind of tired.
Yeah, dude, you look a little shot. I'm tired too, so whatever. We can deal with it.
Yeah, we'll just call it by ear, I guess. How's the
Okay,
beer?
well, I'll tell you, the first thing I want to hear about is this Tony Bose case that you got. Do you still have that one?
I do, yeah.
You got it with you? Show that thing off.
Yeah, hold on, let me go grab it.
Well, whoever is here, it's just you and me, and I'm talking to a blank screen. I feel like Malcolm in Jurassic Park, and I can't really look at comments either, so that's a very curious situation that I'm in presently. I'm drinking a Leinenkugel's red lager. I'm drinking beer here. It was great. I was just talking to myself. It was an excellent experience.
The audience. So this is I did a video on it that probably definitely has better resolution, but that's the Lanny's clip.
Yeah, yeah. I watched a video on it too. I mean, you put a video up already, right?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah, right, sure. Um, and
Yeah, I've
so
seen some
so
videos.
so tell me, uh, does it seem like it's a I guess what would you describe it as, a mid tech or just a high level production or?
Um, slip joints it's different, there's customs, and then there's this is kind of yeah, I mean a high end I'd call it because it's a collaboration with Tony Bose and there was only 300 pieces made, so
Right.
you know. I mean, I guess you could call it a mid tech. I don't know. It's nice.
I wasn't sure. I mean, one thing I watched your video and then I just Googled it to see what I could find. And I mean, did Bose have his hands on it at all, or was that
Yeah.
all? Okay.
No, he does. When they do these collaborations with him, he does have his hands on them. So um, the fit and finish is better than any case I've ever seen for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually my nicest slip joint. I mean, I have a lot of nice GCs and some Northwoods, and this is by far the nicest one. I mean, it's like pretty much having a custom. I think, I think this is as close as to a custom slip joint as you can get without actually buying a custom.
Oh yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm sure it's just as nice as a lot of customs are. So
Totally.
yeah, no, it was a cool opportunity. There was this guy selling this one and the tribal spear,
Mhm.
and he wanted to sell them as a pair. And I said, well, if you decide to split it, I'm interested in the clip. And my other buddy, caffeine caffeine junkie, do you know him?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I actually just subscribed to him recently. I didn't think I realized he had a YouTube channel because we comment occasionally on Instagram, but that's about it.
Yeah, yeah. So he's
Yeah.
like a guy I've been on Blade forums that I've known for quite a while now,
Okay.
before YouTube and stuff.
Okay.
So he said, I'd take the tribal spear. So we kind of split them up, and we got a really good price on him doing that.
Oh yeah.
And um, he did a video the same day I did. He uploaded his, and I'm like, that's funny. I was gonna upload mine today, so and he shouted me out in his video, so I shouted him out, and
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, it's a pretty good size slip joint. It's about 4 inches close, so for a traditional knife, that's on the larger side.
Right. Yep.
But I like carrying it a lot and using it. I mean, it's pretty, but it's not like I got it. It was used when I got it. Like, it wasn't like a
Yep.
Safe Queen, so I feel like I can carry it and use it. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, and I think that that's great. I mean, it's a CPM 154 blade.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's amazing.
no. 154 CM.
Oh, okay, okay.
I always get those two mixed up. I think everyone does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, it's 154 CM, but which is good. That's a high-end
Yeah.
stainless
Oh, sure.
steel for a traditional knife. That's pretty unheard of.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I did.
Yeah, for sure.
I had another one, the Northwoods Indian River Jack was also
Yep.
in 154 CM, but I was not very impressed with that knife. I actually sold it
Okay.
right after I got it.
What's been your experience? I mean, that you said that straight away this seems like a nicer knife than the Northwoods knife. Well, talk to me a little bit about. I mean, since you've owned a whole bunch, I've been kind of wondering, like, give me the spectrum of like quality differences, the kind of things you can expect in the different models. I mean, are there ones that generally have a reputation of being better, or ones that are kind of like a benchmark amongst the Northwoods knives that you would say, like, okay, this is the one I would compare to the Tony Bowes case if I was going to compare one, or yeah, just you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the Northwoods are not, they're not made by Northwoods. They're made by GEC. Queen has made a couple models for them, and the GEC made ones are nicer. Like the Fremont Jack I have is made by GEC,
Yeah.
and that's really great. I mean, the fit and finish is excellent on that. But
Yeah.
the Indian River, I believe, was made by Queen, and you could tell. And I need to check on that because I would be shocked if it was made by GEC because
Okay.
it wasn't centered. It didn't have a half stop, like things that are kind of standard on higher end traditionals,
Right.
And the blade, the steel on it was nice, and it was nice that the covers were really nice, like a bone color.
Yeah.
But overall, for the cost, I was pretty unimpressed with the knife, and I'm 90% sure it's made by Queen. So you kind of have to know who makes what knife for them. GEC typically makes them, and if you're buying a GEC made Northwoods, then it's going to be a really good knife.
Yeah.
You're going to get good quality. So
Has your consistency with GEC been pretty consistent?
yes, I haven't had one bad GEC. Not even. I mean, I have quite a few right now.
Yeah.
I think I have one right here. Yeah, this is a new one.
Yeah.
I haven't done a
Let's
video.
have a little blade for it. Tell me about it.
This is the Bullet Jack number 85 pattern. This has got it's called Goldenrod micarta. It's so cool looking. It's just unique. This is a GC. The fit and finish is perfect. There's no blade play. It's got the half stop. It's even flush on the head when it's. That's one kind of thing to look for. I've noticed is if it's flush when it's in half stop position, which a lot of them aren't. Like my. You have a 47, don't you? Viper?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Is yours flush when the blade's up? In the half stop?
I'd have to check, to be honest. I don't know
Because
offhand.
this one's not. It's barely off. It's not a lot. And that's really not a big deal to me. But that's kind of one thing to look for, When I got the Bose, I was like, well, it better, be flush. And it's perfect. I mean, there's just a big difference. It's kind of hard to explain. You'd have to handle it. You'd have to feel it in your hand and be like, wow, I can really tell this is a higher end knife than like the GCs or the Northwoods even.
Yeah.
But
that totally makes
the price of those things was like over $300 when they were new.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pay that much, but that's how much they cost new. So.
Well, it seems like you could easily pay that much depending where you were looking. If a dealer had one or something,
Well, that's an interesting thing. That's a good topic. Are you familiar with the TC Barlows?
No, tell me about it.
It's the number 15 pattern from GEC, but they did a special run called the Tom's Choice Barlow, And
Okay, yeah, I do know that. I do
yeah,
that.
a lot of
Keep
times
going.
they're
Keep going.
called Charlos. Well, they're so popular. I mean, I have a Barlow, Charlo. It's a great knife. It's one of the best GCs I have. I mean, fit and finish wise and such. Their secondary market on those things is insane. One went for over $400 on eBay.
Crazy.
And they
Why
were
are they
like,
going up? Just demand?
yeah, because they're not made anymore. They're very, very popular. They're highly collectible. There's quite a few variations, but I couldn't believe it. I've kind of started like doing this thing where I just watch a lot of knives on eBay just
That's
to see
cool.
what they sell for. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I wasn't bidding. I was just watching this one, and it went from 100 and something dollars all the way to 405 was the winning bid. And I was like, I have the same knife in my collection that I think I paid around 100 for.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
I was
I mean,
like, wow.
it's amazing. I mean, I feel like the prices on a lot of these traditionals are. I mean, I see them. I mean, I've seen them marked down as low as $50 sometimes. I pretty much only I'm not on the forums a whole lot, but I am on Instagram. And I mean, sometimes I see them as cheap as $50, and I'll see the same one go for 75 later. And I mean, it's not just based on condition. It seems like there's such a renewed interest in traditionals that like there's a lot of buying and selling going on. It seems to me like
Yeah, there is. I mean, Caffeine Junkie actually did I meant to have him on the chat this week, and I just totally spaced it. Um, as a guest, he just did a video on that exact topic. Is there a new, renewed interest in traditional knives among knife collectors and among knife users, and I was going to do a similar video. It's just really funny. We tend to think on the same wavelength.
you should
Um,
still do it. I
there
mean,
really is a huge revival, I think. I mean, like you're on Instagram, and you see a lot more people that you used to just see them post pictures of like high-end productions, mid-techs, and customs and stuff. And a lot of those guys are getting traditional knives.
right. Oh yeah.
And they'll carry them as like a secondary knife. They'll carry them, with their Sabenza or something like that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I've been doing that too. I mean, it's something that I did. I mean, for a long time, even with a Swiss Army knife and a folder. For me, it makes sense because there are plenty of times where pulling out a traditional knife or a multi-tool is not going to evoke the same reaction with the people you're around um, as if you whip out a knife like even like the Sabenza or something like. I mean, even my little small Sabenza, that's like a knife that like. I mean, if you just whip this out, like people would be like, "Oh, what's that?" Um,
Yeah,
and
for me, the small Sabenza is like perfect size. But
oh, I love it. Yeah, I
yeah,
love.
I totally get what you're saying. And that's actually kind of what started me in looking at carrying traditionals and stuff was the comment that was made. It was at my sister's surprise birthday party, and I had my ZT801 blackwashed, pretty good size blade. And, I
Yeah.
flipped it out, just not even thinking because it flipped so fast, and people were like, "Whoa, he's got a switchblade. What's going on?" All these people were looking at me weird, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't really care, but at the same time, it would be nice to carry a smaller knife for this kind of scenario.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, I
that,
mean, I'm in this plenty of situations where like I'm at a larger meeting or a conference with 500 people or something, and I might actually be concealed carrying at that conference and no one knows. But if I'm going to pull a knife out, I don't want to draw any attention to myself.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I mean, that's just being smart in my opinion. Like, I mean, it's not about being ostentatious at all. It's about carrying quality things and using the right thing for the situation. And,
exactly. The reality is, and I came to this. I don't know if it's a conclusion or I came to terms with this, is that most of us don't really need anything more than a small traditional knife, a Swiss Army knife, to do most things we do on a daily basis. And if I do, I'm typically going to use a fixed blade knife if I need something hard,
yeah,
hard to use. I'm not going to use it typically as a folder.
right. Yeah,
So I've gravitated towards the smaller knives, like the small Seb. This thing is just never leaves my pocket. I always have that pretty much.
yeah.
and I usually pair it with either a locks or something like that. Something like this I'll carry by itself because it's a good size folder still, you know.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
it's still I think a lot of it has to do with okay, this takes two hands to open, you know.
Yeah,
It's less threatening and it's a slip joint, you know, it doesn't lock. Like there's
yep,
just even though that's a pretty good sized blade still,
right.
you know what I mean? And it's
Yep,
a traditional knife. Most people are used to their grandpa, their dad carrying something like that,
yep.
so they don't really bat an eye at it, you know. But you carry around these big, Spider Codes or ZTs or whatever, and flipping them out at 100 miles an hour, and people are like, "What?" You know?
Well, and, the other thing about it, I mean, I think that this is true that I think that the reason that people are interested in traditionals and the reason why people are interested in customs right now are actually kind of parallel. I mean, a lot of the traditionals that I've handled are really unique, and like that's the kind of like the appeal. Like your traditional collection is super diverse.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
especially considering like they're probably not really manufactured in that many places. Like it's pretty interesting how some of these old um, shapes and stuff are still really. I mean, just to carry and to handle, they're engaging. You know.
yeah,
Um, and I mean, I think hats off to Great Eastern Cutlery for kind of producing knives that are finally interesting again. You know, I think that I mean, traditional knives in my family are very common, and to be honestly, they're just treated like utility blades. I mean, it's like the one step away from using a box cutter sometimes because everyone's just got these made in China bucks or really cheap cases or something, and you've lost the the element of artistry that I think traditional knives really ought. I mean, it seems like that's a good thing to revive. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I 100% agree. And like you said, Great Eastern Cutlery has really spearheaded that revival. You know, they are bringing back a lot of old designs that like these jackknives, like the 77 and the 15 pattern.
Yeah.
Those are the Barlow. That's an
Yep.
old design, and
Right.
they're bringing that back. And I mean, like we were talking about, the collectability of those knives is huge. People are paying outrageous prices for them, and it's just like maybe it's nostalgia that hey, someone's making these old timer knives again. Well, I said old timer, that's like Schrade, but you know what I meant.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Not trying to
Yeah.
compare GC and Schrade, but it's just
Traditional blades.
yeah, exactly. Hey, what's up, Hancock?
Yeah. Welcome, Hancock. Good to see you, bud.
Yeah, a little bit late. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
No worries. Metal. Yeah, let's real quick since you jumped in, we'll kind of pause the conversation. We'll see who's in the chat. We've got Warp 41, Ben Long, 1018, Trunkback GM, and Rando Survivor so far. Hopefully we get a few more viewers. I think people were thrown off a little bit by the holidays. What do you got there? That's a big blade. That's that.
Big old
That's that.
pocket
Buck
buck.
you had there. Is that a buck?
Yeah. This is
That's
a Buck 119. We were talking last week about fixed blades and right tool for the right job. Well, shotgun for deer is starts this Saturday, so I'm like my fixed blade knives, and this is one I recently just got over Thanksgiving, and really impressed with it. Really impressed with the sheath too. Buck's one of those big companies that I still feel like they're doing a lot of things right, and really happy with. But anyway, yeah. So, well, thanks everyone for being here. Uh, let's see here. How many people then? I missed that. I was thinking about my next.
We have about 5 or 6 guys in the chat right now.
Okay, cool.
We'll get more as we get going. So,
Right.
what's going on, Hancock? What's new in your world?
Well, let's see. Long story short, had to go out and help a family member change a tire. That's why I was late. Been on a shopping spree for a young teenage boy and picked up some knives for him, and I would want your info on them.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I picked up a really cool knife for dirt cheap during Black Friday. So, what do you want first? Or we gonna do that later? Or?
No, we can do
Oh,
it
let's
now,
hear
man.
it,
It's all
man.
good. We're talking knives right now. So,
Well, I finished up the 2014 Black Wash series for Kershaw. I picked up the starter.
Cool.
So now the lifter, the starter, and the manifold.
Which one do you like the best of the three?
Probably the manifold.
Okay.
The one downside on those knives for me is they're all tip up only, or no, tip down only. Excuse me.
Yeah, but I'm just one of those junkies that, there's only 3 in the series. Why not buy them all?
No, I get that. I get
And
that.
what's really bad is the starter. This one I picked up for $9.99, Black Friday. I paid $30 for the lifter, and I paid $20 for the manifold. If I'd have waited till Black Friday at Academy of Sports, I could have had the whole collection for $30.
Nice. Yeah, there were a lot of Kershaws on sale. I think I like the manifold the best out of the three too. Is there much of a recurve on it? I'm just looking at the stock picture right now.
On which one?
On the manifold.
No, hardly at all.
Okay. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting. You know, I'd like to talk about these entry-level Kershaws sometime because they're actually getting pretty widely imitated, huh? I mean, like, there's basically there's a Schrade that looks identical to the starter, I think.
You could say that a lot. There's a Schrade that looks like a lot of other. Anyway.
I've been thinking a lot about Kershaw lately just because of Stick to Drum's recent vid on the Ruby and kind of talking about, you know, just how in the last 40 years what Kershaw's done to the industry. And, I mean, like, that's a brand that I pretty handily recommend to people, even who are not knife people, because if they get a dud, if they get something that's even made in China or wrong or something, like, I mean, my experiences with Kershaw have been good enough that, I mean, the whole customer service aspect seems to make up a lot for the fact that a lot of their knives are cheap, you know.
And even a lot of the cheap knives are still a lot better than the other cheap knives.
Oh yeah, I completely 100% agree.
They're a step above most, you know, like your Schrades and your other cheap knives like that. They're definitely.
M-Tech.
What was that one?
M-Tech.
Yeah, MetTech here, or whatever those. Yeah, some of these I'm like, what is this? Like gas station knife? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, they're a way step above. I mean, I think the reason why, like you said, they've been around for 40 years, but they've also, you know, they also make a lot of premium knives, you know, and that's, I think you see that, like, I mean, I'm not sitting there trying to dog on Schrade because they've got some decent stuff, you know, some of their
They're
fixed
trying to
blades.
come back.
Yeah, but they don't really make anything nice. You know what I mean? It's all the same level. It's all cheap, right? And I shouldn't say cheap. Let's call it inexpensive. That's a better word. You know, that's their target market. Kershaw has segments where they have their, you know, like the manifold and the starter and all those, you know, Chinese-made knives that are less expensive. And then they have like they've even come back and made a new U.S.-made knife this year, the Camber. That's made in U.S. Got S30V steel. You know, it kind of looks like a blur, but a flipper.
Very cool knife.
I think it's called the Camber. Am I wrong on that? Ugh. I'm like been so into traditional knives lately.
I think it's the Camber. Yeah, I think I just watched a review on it. It's the one that's got the Kershaw logo right in the middle of the aluminum.
Yeah. So that's you know, that's a medium. That's a pretty good size. That's a good blade for the money. It's, you know, it's got good steel and it's you know, so they still make those, and they have their ZT line. Obviously, that's their premium knives. But you know, the Ruby was as nice as any knife I've seen. I mean, I had one. I handled it. And it was gorgeous. I mean, it was very well made. You can
just like their Ken Onion line, the leaks, the
yeah, and they've had those. I mean,
great mid-level
for like 20 years or something crazy. Like that model, that leak has been around for so long. Like all those have, you know, but they continue to make them because they do so well. And then they'll do like a new variation where they'll do like a black wash version. Have you seen the gold one they have out right now?
Oh, really?
It's covered in 14 karat gold.
Are you serious?
Knife. I'm like, really?
Wow. That's
The
ridiculous.
Kershaw store is selling it, but there's collectors. The Leak is actually one of the most collected knives ever made.
Wow.
There is so many variations of it, and you could probably there's probably like 100 different variations of that knife. You could collect your Leak collection could be huge.
Yeah.
That's what they made that knife for. So that's one thing that's cool about them too is they tailor to their customer base. Like they know they have Kershaw collectors, so they
Right.
bring out special edition knives like the Ruby. That's all that knife's for. That's a collector's knife. I said that in my video. It's definitely not something I would ever carry and use because it has these Kershaw logos all over it and it has this 40th anniversary. It comes in a nice presentation box. It's a collector knife. It's really not a user.
Yep.
I know Stick to Drum is like, I'm going to use this thing, but I'm like, I just couldn't bring myself to use a knife like that. It just had that collector's,
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing is I mean, all of the large banners and stuff on the one side of the knife. I mean, I think it was in one of the Gear Geeks Live podcasts. They're talking about how it almost seems like it's a promotional piece, like something that you give dealers or something to put on display.
Yeah. Exactly.
And, yeah. So I mean, yeah, sure. It's obviously, I'm sure it's as good of a production knife in terms of build quality as any knife that you can get out there. But I mean, it's just, I thought it was an interesting knife. It wasn't my taste personally, but it's a very interesting knife as far as this is a knife that Kershaw thinks that collectors really want. So it's kind of interesting to think like, okay, so what are they trying to do with this knife? I mean, and it's definitely a commemorative piece. I mean, I think that it was made for collectors. I mean, in the way that you're talking about, like they wouldn't have dolled it up as much as they did if it wasn't going to be something that was really for the collectors. It's not just like a guy who's going to otherwise buy an expensive ZT who's going to buy that. It's going to be like the Kershaw guy who's got his 80 leaks or whatever, who's going to like, okay, this is a big one. I want to get this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and you saw them go in the secondary market. They were going for quite a bit of money,
Was that right? Yeah, I didn't follow that at all.
Yeah, they were going for up to like $700 or $800 at one point. They've dropped down. They've dropped down. I mean, they're more like in the $600 range now on eBay, but they'll go back up.
The secondary market. I ran into a guy in Academy Sports when I was buying these low-end Kershaws because this guy, if it's a new Kershaw, he buys it. It's just that's all he collects is Kershaws.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, I said, do you have a Ruby? He said, yeah, I just picked one up. I said, if you don't mind, what'd you give for it? Because I know what I could have picked one up for. He goes, yeah, I gave $650 for it plus tax and shipping.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they went for $400, from Kershaw if you got one. And then, like I said, secondary price was really high on them, just really, really high. And I knew it would be because of the collectors,
Right. Oh, definitely. I mean, and they did a great job of marketing the knife, too, so that the wider knife community would see it. And, I mean, I think that's one thing that's interesting about it is that it was very well received, even though it's pretty dramatic, right? I mean, I think everyone more or less, I didn't really see anyone talking like, oh, I wish Kershaw would have done something different, like it was a perfectly fair knife to commemorate their 40th, and definitely, yeah. I think it'll remain to be. I mean, it'll continue to remain collectible with all the cool kit that it came with, and I mean,
it comes with like a certificate of authenticity with your serial number on it, and the presentation box was the best I've seen from Kershaw. They're doing that now with all their limited editions, like the ZT 454. I had that for a short time. That was the same kind of presentation. They're going to do it with the new Hinder model, the ZT 392. But I do wish Kershaw would make the Ruby without all that, banner on there, the 48. Another variation, maybe not even a limited run, maybe a production version, because it's a titanium frame lock with the ZDP 189. I mean, that's not that rare, for them to make something like that. It wasn't like a composite blade like the 454 was. You know, it wasn't anything really that special, minus the fact that it had the, you know, the 40-year anniversary thing on it. So, I mean,
Well, and I think people
that's,
liked it because it was actually looked like it'd be pretty useful. Like, I mean, if
yeah.
Mario wants to use that his ruby, it'll probably serve its role real well. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a great knife. I mean, it's large. It's a big knife, and you know, it's on bearings. It's super smooth. It had, you know, it has the DLC coating on the titanium, so it would hold up really well. You know, it wouldn't show a lot of use. So yeah, you know, for me, when I got it, I was moving away from those bigger folders, you know, like we were talking about earlier. And so, you know, I didn't really have a lot of intention of, you know, carrying the knife. I just bought it to collect it, you know, I bought it to have the ruby because it was the 40-year anniversary of Kershaw, you know. And
Yeah.
really, that's the knife brand that got me into knife collecting and knife use, you know, got me into YouTube, making YouTube videos, you know. Kershaw was where it all started for me, so, um,
Well, and like you kind of got a nice deal where you seem to check out a lot of new releases. I mean, that's just a fun thing to be able to do. I mean, period. Like,
yeah, it's it's expensive though.
yeah, it looked like you lost a little money with the Rubicon. Is that
I did, yeah. I
that's a
was surprised by that a little bit. I got a good deal on that knife. I got it on a Black Friday sale.
okay?
So, and considering I carried it I think around the house or something like that, you know, I was fine with selling it for what I sold it for 260,
Yeah.
and I think I paid 270 something for it. So, you know, a little bit, but yeah, most of the time I don't lose money on them if I sell them. I usually make my money back, or even sometimes make some money, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it can get a little expensive doing that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that it's still fun though. I mean, it's kind of like. I mean, I joke with my wife. She doesn't think it's funny at all, but I talk about the gear rental service.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes it's just fun to check stuff out. Like, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
No, that the thing and I've kind of explained this to my wife too, is that the value on these knives, you don't really lose much value as long as you're not like beating on the knife. You know what I mean? As long as you
sure.
don't like beat the heck out of it, you're gonna retain a lot of the value. So if you do not like it, you know, you end up selling it. You're really not out more than $5 or $10. Sometimes, like I said though, you can break even. You can even make a little bit of money on them. You know?
Right. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's tons of guys who like. I mean, like I think that we could have an interesting conversation about the way some of the really high-end ZTs have exploded in price and stuff. But I mean, if the market is going to support something like people paying $800 for a 0454, like there's not a lot you can do to stop it. I mean, unless you were selling it to a friend or something, I don't know why you would way undersell it.
Yeah, that's a good topic. I like that topic a lot. Let's roll with that. Well, first, actually, before we get into that, remind me, we had a question in the there's Metal Trooper. He's in the comments. What's up, bud? Hopefully your dog, is it his dog that he's having problems with, Hancock?
Yeah, unfortunately, his dog is a little bit older and is having a little bit of urinary tract infection things. He was looking kind of shady for a little bit. He's pepping up. Hopefully, the medicine and the new food is going to fix him up. But no, Metal Trooper's pretty worried about him there for a few days. So thoughts for Metal Trooper and his puppy. But he's looking on the
Yeah,
up.
man, good. That's good. I've got a couple dogs, so they're definitely a big part of my family, But one of the questions we had in the comments, which I thought would be good for all three of us to answer, was what's your favorite Kershaw knife? You want to go ahead and start, Hancock?
Sure, and if this falls into the point where you were talking about don't beat on your blades. Well, my favorite Kershaw is the Kershaw Oh-So Sweet, and I have two of them, and I beat the holy living hell out of them. When I tear one up, I send it back into the factory. They replace the blade, the spring, or whatever, and send it back to me. I keep two on hand, and typically, since I've done this, I've taken the de-assist spring out of them. They come out faster. They fall down quicker. For deployment, just
That's real smooth.
You took out the torsion bar, huh?
yeah. And the Kershaw Also Suite has 2 of the brass phosphorus washers. And it's just extremely smooth.
Yeah, some of those knives have a detent ball cut out or milled out, I guess, on the blade, so you can do that. A lot of the knives won't have a detent when you take out the speed safe.
Well, this
So
one
you can basically shake the knife out, you know.
Yeah, this one is the same way, but with it being right side tip down only in your pocket, it's not coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those models are like the Blur. Well, there's a few of them you can de-assist. You can take out the torsion bars and have them be a manual folder. So
Yeah.
yeah, the Oslo Suite, the Oslo Suite's a great option. I mean, that's a good budget blade, and like you said, you're not afraid to beat on it. And
No, seriously, like I said, I have 2 of them. If I break one, I'll put the other one in my pocket until the next one comes back. And I beat the holy piss out of these. I've had both of them for about 2 years now. I got into both of these knives for under $30, and it just lets me play with the rest of them.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, I think that's one thing that's great about these Kershaws is it seems like there's a lot of room for people to find ones that they like, you know. I mean, there's a lot that I haven't tried that I'd like to try. Like, you know, I was just trying to, you know, I mean, I've got the first one that came to mind for me was a Kershaw Chive. 'Cause I did that little tiny Canonian knife for a while, just as like my super light EDC, like when I was wearing a suit or something. And that was a knife that I actually learned to like less and less the more that I carried it, because it doesn't actually have very good weight for the size, and it sits pretty high in the pocket. One Kershaw that I've had for a long time that I still really like, and I think an amazing value, is the Crown. The Crown.
The Crown is phenomenal.
So yeah, it's just, I mean, beautiful. Micarta handle, nice brush bolster. It's got a great, very useful blade shape. It's just HCR 13 MOB, I think. But I mean, at this point, I've had experience with that steel for over a decade, and I don't have a lot of experience with steels for that long. So like, even though like the edge retention isn't great, like I can get really sharp, and it's pretty easy to work with. So like that's been one cheap one that I've definitely bought more than one of that, just because it's like one of those ones where I never want to like have it go to production and then I can't find it or something. I really liked my Emerson. I think it was the 7K. It was the Tanto.
yeah,
I mean, that was like amazing fit and finish for a $30 knife when I got that one.
yeah,
that would definitely be one that I'd like to use again, because that was, I mean, it had a stonewash and satin on the blade. The detail was perfect. The pocket clip wasn't bad. I mean, it was nice, like very, very nice.
yeah. I wish the only thing I loved that knife. I had the 6 and the 7, and I gifted the 7 to a Metal Trooper actually. So, the only thing I would have changed is if they would have stonewashed the stainless steel lock side, it would have been perfect. Like, I just wasn't a huge fan of the bead blasted finish.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If it had been stonewashed like the blade, like you mentioned, because the two-tone blade, I mean, you don't see that on many knives that are under $100. I mean, that's an Emerson touch, and you're going to pay over $150 for an Emerson. So, no, I agree. That was a great frame lock design. It was very ergonomic. It was a good size. It was a good knife. I mean, I agree. The Skyline has to be my favorite though of all the Kershaws. I mean, it's one I've had like 10 different variations of. I always go back to it because it weighs hardly anything. It's like the perfect size in my hand. It's got great ergos. They came out with the carbon fiber S30V version if you wanted a premium, type version of it. They have the Damascus version. I mean, there's all kinds of nice Skyline It's out
Which
there.
Skyline,
And,
which Skyline did you like the best?
the carbon fiber S30V for sure. I mean it was just, it's a good looking knife. I sold it not too long ago because I got into traditionals, so I wanted to. But Blade HQ still had some, and they had them on sale for Black Friday or Cyber Monday for like $85, which
Yeah,
is
no, I was looking at them pretty hard. I've yet to own a Skyline, mostly because um, the base Skylines is sort of seem kind of boring to me. I mean, they're very simple design as it is. And I
yeah.
mean, I understand that's part of the appeal, but like, I was really close to pulling a trigger on the Damascus Skylines when they were at Blade HQ for the first run for $50, and then I missed it, and I didn't miss that I missed it that much. So now that they're available again, I'm like, well, maybe I should get one, even though I don't want one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would
But
actually like to get. I'd like to get the Damascus and the carbon fiber and do a blade swap on it and
yeah,
have
I think that'd be pretty
carbon
nice.
fiber. I think that'd look pretty sweet.
Yeah,
See, I wish I could be like you all. I had this knife, or I had that knife. I don't get rid of knives.
Yeah, like Andrew brought up a point, where he said I've got this thing where I get to play with a lot of nice stuff, and the only way I can really do that financially is to sell other knives, and I don't get attached to too many, I really don't. I think I do more of the traditionals now. I did sell one traditional recently, but I don't get that. I haven't got attached to production knives because they're just always gonna be there. You know what I mean? They're like, I could always go buy another Kershaw's CQC7 for $30. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's not going anywhere. But
For me, I've always been into traditional knives. I went from traditional knives straight to guns. And I'm like, okay, I've got a cool case knife. And then, I'll be at the gun range and somebody would go, click. I'm like, what's that? Never seen anything like that. So the modern knives are still new to me. Like, when I haven't bought a modern knife over $40. And that came from you.
yeah, that cold steel. Yeah.
And
Yeah, seeing that,
we're still into the Kershaw realm. I'm like the $13 to $15 realm from the Crowns or the Oso Suites. When I drop $30 to $40 on a Kershaw or even a Spyderco, that's my high-end new folders.
yeah. Well, it's not cheap, I mean, it's easy to act like spending $100 on a knife is no big deal, but like, it definitely took me years to get to the point where I was willing to do that. And the first time it happened, it was like, wow, what the heck? Like, this thing better be like, must be like a friggin' rainbow that comes out when I deploy it, Like,
this better be a freaking lights.
yeah, right.
In all honesty, the first couple that were my higher-end knives that I got, and I'm still talking about the sub $60 range, I'm looking like, did that just really fly out like that? There's no spring assist? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, you wait, dude. You get a knife on bearings, something smooth, or like the Sabenzas are really smooth. They just fly out just a little flick, and this is actually the smoothest Sabenza I've ever had. And I heard that about the carbon fiber knife art exclusive, that they were a little bit smoother for some reason. I don't know why, but
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I mean, I was really looking hard at the knife art once myself, and then I got this little small Sabenza recently in a trade. I mean, I put some cash for it, but I actually traded a guy for a titanium pen and some cash for it. And this is the birth date in this one's 2013, but he carried it pretty consistently and really broke it in well. So I think it's quite a bit smoother than what you'd get if you got a brand new one.
Well, talking about those Sabenzas right there,
Yeah.
Just like I know that Tyler has the a Senrinmu 710, or has had one, played with it.
yeah, I had one.
Because the Senrinmu 110, that's a fairly smooth opener. Just, for me, because I've never had anything on bearings or.
Yeah.
The Kershaw Crown was pretty slick for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean the Sebenzas aren't on bearings. The Sebenzas are on washers, but yeah, like that Rubicon was a really nice flipper. It had a really smooth action. It was, but that you get some like those, like that Ruby had a really good action, and the ZT 454 was unreal. It was just smooth as glass. It's just that. I mean that you do get that with the higher end knives. You'll get that smoothness. You always get premium materials. You get the titanium frame locks. Or you get the higher end steels. And that's kind of what I was going at with my video on the Rubicon. Was while it was a great knife, it was very attractive. It had really nice, 3D machined carbon fiber that was highly polished. It was on bearings, but the price point was just not there. It was just they were charging way too much for that knife, And I got some negative comments, and I knew I would from those Spyderco fanboys out there because there's a lot of those,
I mean, I consider myself a fanboy, but I feel like you're raising valid points, so.
Yeah, and I got I got like 3 thumbs down on that video, and I'm like, I knew I was going to because I just kind of told it how it was. Like, I thought, this is a great knife. It really is, but it's not $300 nice. It's just not. I mean, it should be like $200. It's probably overpriced by at least $100,
Yeah. I mean, it's, I was on the Spyderco forums a little bit to, like, see if, because, Sal Glesser is sometimes on there to talk about, why prices are the way they are. And, like, another Spyderco model that people are kind of pissed off about is there's this big Bowie that they came out with, the tie frame lock called the K2. It's like a friggin' 4.5-inch blade or something. And they did another collaboration with Marcin Sleets. They had the Techno, which was super popular, and then there's this new one, the Sleets Bowie. And the Sleets Bowie is like $100 more than the K2, even though both of the knives are tie frame locks, and both of them are using premium steel. And Sal on the Spyderco forums is basically saying, well, the Sleets Bowie requires a lot more machining in the handles, and that's what we justify the price. But I heard a guy, an industry insider, talking about how sometimes contracts can make a difference with the designers of the knives. So that could be another factor that obviously is not going to be public knowledge.
Yeah.
But I mean, one thing I was going to say, take a different direction, is I love how some of this high technology is trickling down. I mean, my smoothest knife in my collection right now is not my Sebenza. It's my CRKT Swindle. Like the new Ken Onion, that flipper is on IKBS, and it is friggin' amazing.
Yeah, I have that little knife. That's that little Warncliffe. Like it looks like a swayback.
It is, yeah. It's sort of like a modern
knife styling, but it's frame lock.
I've had
hey guys, I hate to bug you for a second. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I'm going to actually take you outside because we're going to go smoke.
Oh, okay, cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had higher end knives on bearings, and this is equal. I mean, it's the same IKBS, so it's not like essentially different,
Yeah. Well, and the same could be said for the Kershaw has a couple new models that have KVT in them.
Right. Yeah.
The Strobe and the Nura, and they both flip just as good as the ZTs, really, and it's kind of like, But see, that's the thing. Like, you're paying that much for a knife. You expect it. That's what I don't get about the Rubicon and the Chubby, the new Chubby, the Birch collaboration.
Yeah.
They both use S30V still.
Yeah.
Yet they're both priced at like $250 to $300, and I'm like, what? Like, S30V is like 10 years ago. I'm like, this is not a high-end steel anymore. It's a good steel. I actually like that steel a lot. I think it's worth $100. You know what I mean? You shouldn't really buy a knife with S30V for over $100, in my opinion. Unless it's like a custom or a mid-tech or something like that. But
I think with the Rubicon that I didn't understand is like, I mean, it seems like the choice for that steel is important, considering this is kind of one of their flagship knives now.
Yeah.
And I haven't really heard a good explanation of why they went with it. I mean.
Yeah, it makes no sense because even
or something, or I mean.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't heard anything anywhere that says this is why we did S30V. The Slice Bully has nicer steel, and it's right around the same price, or I think it's actually a little less expensive, and it's a titanium frame lock versus the liner lock.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
a little more
if you don't
expensive.
mind me interrupting,
What?
if you don't mind me interrupting, I would be curious to what you all would think about somebody purchasing a knife for $100 or under, blade steel versus brands. I've been looking at Benchmade's, been looking at Spyderco's. The best steel that I've ever worked with so far is All-Sate. That's just what I've worked with, and I like it. So
Yeah, I mean, you're not.
steels versus brand names versus $100 and under.
You have a lot of choices, which is good. I mean, there's a lot of choices 100 and under. Even just looking at Benchmade versus Spyderco, and I really like both brands a lot. So, I mean, to me, it would be about picking a model whose design that you really like, and then, I mean, pretty much with any $100 knife, you're not going to really go wrong with the steel. I mean, unless you're buying like $100 rubber or something stupid, yeah, which knives are you interested in? Which ones are you looking at?
Well, essentially, I'm looking at all of them because I just like to play with them.
Yep.
I'm really, really impressed with the Cold Steel brand knives, the Recon 1, the Code 4s.
Yep.
Their blade steel, their lockups.
Yep.
I really like the Spyderco's for the Spidey hole. I like the way they open.
Yeah.
I like flippers. It's just I like modern knives.
You must be a collector if you like all those different things.
Well, excuse my French, but I'm a knife whore. I love them. I keep them. My son loves them. He loves to see them. He loves to do the paper cut test. It's something around our household. That's what me and my son have in common. He likes swords. I like knives. He's so small that my 4 and 5 inch knives look like swords to him, so they're fun.
Uh-huh.
Hancock, there's this really good YouTube channel that I'm subscribed to that did a video. I think it was called 10 Best Knives Under $100.
Oh, I think I might know that channel.
Yeah, do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
there's a lot of good knives in that video that you can't go wrong with any of them. So, dead serious. And there's Spyderco, and there's Benchmade, and there's everything in that video. That video, by the way, is almost at 100,000 views.
Yeah, congratulations. That's great.
I cannot believe that. It blows my mind to think I have a video with that many views almost.
No, it's good. Yeah, I mean, you'll go well over 100,000 in my opinion. I mean.
Yeah, I hope so.
In all honesty, I'll probably give that video 5 or 10 views myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I watched it a couple times for sure.
And then I did one 10 best under 50 because I had a lot of viewers ask me for that, and that one's got like a couple thousand already, and it hasn't been out that long. So I think both those are, but they're, I mean, really, I wasn't trying to promote my channel or anything.
Come on.
That'd be a horn blow for that guy.
Yeah, but it really I've had so many people send me messages and comments and on that, and asking me for advice and, hey, this video really helped me pick out a knife, and that's kind of why I did it, and it's cool that at least one of the videos I made, people learn things off that, and
Oh, totally, yeah.
but really, blade steel, I don't worry as much about anymore as I used to. I used to kind of be a steel snob and but again, I'm not gonna pay $300 for a knife that has S30V. That's just, what I mean. But at the same time, like me and Andrew were talking traditional knives earlier, that most of those you're not gonna find much more than 1095 carbon steel or the occasional stainless like 440C, or I have that Tony Bose with the 154 CM, and I honestly, those steels are just fine for everyday use. I don't need more than those steels. I mean, I really, honestly don't. So my point is, anything under $100 around that area, yeah, you're gonna be fine. If it's 154 cm versus S30V, not a huge difference in those two steels, in my opinion.
It's interesting too because I mean I think it is good to try to kind of find ways to interact with some of those different steels. Like at one point, I bought one of the Ontario folders. I think it was the frame lock one. I forget what it was, the name of that one. But I bought that just because I hadn't had OS 8 yet, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try OS 8. And I like that. I like that steel pretty well, actually. I actually, one knife that I had that I would buy again is I had a Code 4. And I kind of hope that Cold Steel moves up market a little bit with that model because if I could get a Code 4 in CTS XHP, kind of like the Recon 1s are coming out with that steel, like I would probably pay $100 for that because I mean the Tri-Lock is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean it's like if you're going to use a folding knife for a hard to use thing, I mean I think it's hard to beat for a lock, because it's tough. I mean it's
just rock solid. Like, I mean, you never hear any stories of anyone having problems with it. And I didn't wail on that knife or anything when I had it, but it was obvious as soon as you understand the way that the design of that lock works, it's going to really resist trauma from all kinds of different angles, and it's just really good, really smart design. And so, I mean, steel is not as important as finding a knife that you really like the design for. Because the thing is if you find a knife that the design you really like, then you're going to wait for the steel that you want. So like one knife that I don't have in my collection that I really like to get is a mini grip Killian, and I'm just going to wait for one that has the right steel that I'm looking for. I'm kind of been thinking about getting one of the Benchmade custom shop ones. I handled one in D2 over Christmas break or over Thanksgiving, and it was really nice, but it was just not. I don't think I want D2. I don't think I want 154 cm, but it's common enough where I'll wait for one that I like maybe one in M4 because I've had full experiences with M4, very little experience, but the ones that I've handled seem really nice. So yeah, for me it's more like it's not being a snob. It's more like bordering on curiosity, I guess. It's kind of like it's just kind of fun to see what is out there because there are real advancements happening. I think it's worthwhile to be familiar with that because it's very cool. Like it's very cool that that metallurgy is getting to a point where you're able to literally whip up steels specifically for different kinds of knife techs. I mean, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
Historically, I mean, in the history of knives were always made out of the crappiest, whatever, scraps or, rings of carriages or whatever it was. I mean, this is a new era as far as really having bespoke steels for knives. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Ritter, the mini grip. I really like the Ritter grips. Doug Ritter mini grip.
Yeah,
that's kind of like really high on my want list. One thing I don't like about the mini grip is the scales. I mean, they just feel cheap, and but there's quite a few options out there for aftermarket. If I find a mini grip that's stonewash blade, or specifically a Ritter grip with a stonewash blade, with micarta scales, I'm all over it.
Yeah, I'd like you on micarta too. I think that'd be awesome.
I love micarta. That's one thing I love about traditionals is that's one of the most commonly used materials in traditional knives for covers. I mean, look at this. This is micarta. This is such a gorgeous micarta too. It's so unique. It's called. Oh my gosh, I just had a freaking brain fart.
Yeah.
I told you what it was called earlier when we were talking about it.
Yeah, you totally did.
Oh my gosh. Sun something acrylic. Oh my heavens. I don't know what's going on with my head right now. But it's got like this orange with like a little bit of red in there, and it's just a cool material. And then when you polish micarta, it just looks so attractive. Like I've got the Viper that I have is a burgundy, and I'm gonna do a video on this knife pretty soon too.
The scales from the one you showed before this one, before the burgundy knife,
Yeah.
Those were gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this, I mean, this is just, it's so pretty, you know, like, I love my Carta.
I got dibs on that one if you ever sell it, bud. That one is.
That one, I don't know, I love that. That's actually a more rare version of the 47, with the chestnut
Yeah.
shield,
Yeah, I
and then
love
in
that.
my Carta, it's stainless steel. Most of them are 1095.
Yeah.
This one's actually made by GEC, and that sounds funny to say that because, you know, but GEC typically has their Northfield line or
Yeah.
their Titty line, and this one's
Good
actually made by
idiot.
GEC.
Say
So,
what?
Titty Ute. That's how you say it. I thought it was Titty Out, but Mike Latham over at Collector Knives, I watched one of his videos, and he said Titty Out, or Titty Ute, and that's kind of what I thought it was. But anyway, that's usually the two that make their knives. Occasionally, GEC will actually put their own shield, which is that little chestnut,
Right.
and you'll actually see this. I don't know if you can see it. Quality. Oh, there's some glare going on. That's not good. There's like these little chipmunks on the blade, you know, and it says Great Eastern Cutlery, you know. Oh, you can kind of see the stamp right there.
Yeah.
So that it's actually a more rare version. It was kind of hard to track down. You know, it wasn't very easy to find.
Yeah.
A lot of hunting on the internet, and that's kind of the fun thing with those. You know, it's if I want to go to buy a Kershaw, I can go to Kershaw Guy's website and buy one, or you know, a Spyderco, I can go to Blade HQ or whatever. You know, but
Yeah.
some of these traditionals, if you want them like this, it's called I just Sunbright acrylic. No, that's acrylic. Whatever, whatever this micarta is called. This one was really hard to find. It's a 2011 model, I think, maybe 12, and I wanted this type of micarta, and I couldn't find it, you know, in a lot of places, and I tracked it down on this guy's Frank's Custom Knives website or something like that. You know, all he sells is traditionals, and it was hard to find. It's kind of the hunt, you know.
Right.
It's kind of fun.
For sure.
You talk about the hunt. What you really need to get into is trying to complete your dad's or granddad's set of case knives and
Oh,
go
geez.
back like 75 back. Now that's a hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Vintage knives are crazy. I mean, that's on another level. Like,
Yeah,
here, guys.
I don't want to get into that.
No, well, that's kind of where I'm at. My dad always carried a case slimline trapper, and I'm trying to find them in every color I can find them in.
I'll be right back, guys.
I just typed it in the comments to remind myself. It's called Goldenrod micarta. God, I cannot think of that. Goldenrod. So it's very unique. So we'll kind of, since Andrew took a break, we'll kind of go over who's in the chat right now. We've got 50 Stitches Steel, Ben Long, Christian Davison, Metal Trooper, Buddy, Skywarp 41, Random Survivor, Kelly Parks. So we're a little short on viewers tonight, which I'm not too surprised about because we didn't have the chat last night. So.
Sorry to cut you off. Miss Kelly Parks, your knife I put in the mail today. It should be at your place Monday. And if Hawaii Volcano Squad comes in, his should be there on Tuesday.
Yeah, I haven't seen him tonight, but he sent me a message on Facebook or on YouTube asking about that. So I told him to reach out to you.
Yeah, he did. With working both jobs, it's hard to get to the post office when they're open. Sorry, but no, both knives went out today. And when Mr. 556 Gear gets back here in the chat,
Hi, guys.
556. 555. That's funny though. You should change your name to 556 if you shot an AR-15 or had big into guns.
When I need to increase my AR-15 arsenal, that's what I'll do.
Yep, there you go. 556.
Long story short, when Andrew gets back on here, there he is. Hey, your box will be going out next week with your whatever is in it. It's in it.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks. That's nice of you. That way I'll get your address, too.
Yeah, like I was saying, it took me almost 2.5 weeks to ship out the knives that I gave away on my last giveaway on this chat.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, no worry.
Yeah,
It's
I kind of go.
I appreciate you sending me something.
Just don't smell it.
Andrew, it's called Goldenrod micarta. I remembered when you were gone.
Okay, right.
It's driving me nuts. Goldenrod. That's the only knife I've ever seen it on, so that's what's cool about it. All right,
um,
so let's kind of change gears a little bit. We've talked about knives for the first hour here, which is cool. You know, I could do it for a while, but let's talk about. We'll talk a little bit about guns. Anything new? Um, Andrew, you mentioned shotgun season's coming up for deer. Is that what you said?
yeah, yeah. So that's been kind of fun. I have a Savage 220, it's a 20 gauge shotgun, rifled shotgun, um, set up specifically for deer hunting. And so I've been getting that set up. I'm trying out a new scope or this year. Last year I had a 3x9x40 scope, but I think I was actually over scoped. And so this year I'm going to try a red dot. Um, I've got a Bushnell red dot that Nothing Fancy gave a really good review of, and there seems to be a lot of people who are using it on shotguns based on the reviews that I could ascertain. And
I already
so,
know what the model is. TRS 25, right?
what did you say now?
The model is the TRS 25.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
You used that one
I've had a
before?
few of those. Yeah, I've had a few of them. They're great red dots. They're held up to any kind of recoil I threw at it. So
That's awesome. Good. Well, I'm happy to hear that because they were $50 on Amazon. It was like just the lowest prices I'd seen. So I was like, well, might as well just buy one.
no, I've never seen them that low. That's a really good price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how about you? What kind of guns have you got going on, bud?
I just got that over under
Oh yeah,
shotgun.
that's sweet. That's
That was
sweet.
an early Christmas present to myself because I don't shoot a lot of trap, but whenever I do well. Like I
Yeah.
tended to do well shooting trap. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I shoot rifle and pistol a lot. Maybe it's just a natural. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my stepdad's a big trap shooter. He does like a men's league, and every year we do the what we call they call it the turkey shoot.
Right.
They have a trap shooting competition, and all the proceeds go to charity. And if you win an event or a heat, I guess you'd call it, or when a competition,
Yeah.
you get a free turkey. You win a turkey.
Yeah. That's great.
So every year we do it, and we typically come home with like 4 or 5 turkeys,
That's
and we
awesome.
always have too many, And so, I just thought, man, every time I come up here, I shoot trap maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and I always win at least 1 or 2 events, and I'm going up against guys that shoot a lot, and I'm like, I don't have a trap shooting gun. I have like a Mossberg 500 pump, and it does fine.
Sure.
But my stepdad's got a Beretta trap model semi-auto that is just gorgeous, and I shoot that thing like lights out. And then he's got a nice Browning BT99 under.
Right.
That one's nice. So I thought, and I just there's something classic about under over shotguns.
Yeah.
It's just I love the design. I used to have a Stoeger Condor, which is actually a really nice, less expensive. It's probably one of the least expensive over-unders you can buy, but it's still really good quality, And I had it in 20 gauge, which for trap shooting is not the best, you definitely have an advantage with the 12 gauge in trap shooting. So I sold that a few years ago, and I wanted to pick up another one. And Dick's Sporting Goods had a big sale just recently. They had like $40 off plus another $50 mail-in rebate. So I think I paid like $350 for that.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's made by Stoeger in Brazil, but they're made on the same tooling as Beretta shotguns are,
Oh
like the
yeah.
same machinery and stuff. And so they're kind of like, actually maybe it's Benelli. It's either Beretta or Benelli. I'm not 100% sure. So one of those nicer, higher end shotguns. So, for the money, it's pretty hard to beat because they're really nicely finished. They're not like super deep or fancy like some of those trap models are going to be, but for me that shoots trap 3 or 4 times a year, and I want to get into it more, and I kind of wanted to start with a less expensive over under, just to see if that's the platform I want to use, or if I want to go to like an auto or
Yeah.
whatever. So It's just
I
classic.
really love over and under. My first shotgun was actually an over and under. My dad gave it to me, and it was I still have it. It's a Bonito, which is a Brazilian manufactured gun too. That's long out of production, but it's got you know, awesome awesome weight and balance. And I mean, I think the balance of an over and under and the simplicity of the firing mechanisms are it's just really fun to shoot. I actually prefer hunting small game unless it's like really bad conditions with an over and under, just because they are heavy if you're walking around a lot, but they just have such a great feel. I mean, your experience shooting trap is, I mean, totally the way that anyone I think could get a sense of how nice an over and under is.
Yeah.
It works so well. I mean, the swing through and everything is just a real pleasure.
Yeah, you're right. They have a classic feel.
That's going to be my point. I
Okay.
love an over and under, but don't want to pack it through the woods all day. They are heavy, heavy guns.
Yeah, they are heavy.
I don't. I mean, mine weighs 7 pounds. I think. I don't think that's terribly heavy, but
No, that's fairly light.
yeah, it's a fairly light. It's gonna. No, it's 7.5 pounds, but still, it's not that heavy. No, it's not that bad.
I mean, I think that, I
It'd be a
mean,
good hunting gun too.
yeah, I mean, it's probably a lot different in a combat situation, but for me, hunting is always recreation and leisure, and so sometimes if I'm going to carry a gun that has sentimental meaning to me, I'm not going to care about the weight. I'm going to be happy to be carrying this gun that has meaning to me. And, I mean, I'm really not. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe it's just because really high tech guns are pretty expensive, but like, I mean, I'm pretty happy with old stuff with guns. I mean, the Savage 220 I have is the sort of most advanced shotgun that I have, and it's got a really nice adjustable trigger and stuff. But a lot of it is based on design that's like probably 100 years old. I mean, I don't know. Maybe one of the people watching can tell me how old the 110, the Savage 110 is, but it's like a really old design.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's amazing how much they figured out.
All of my hunting guns are very old. I hunt with a Model 37 Ethica, 12 gauge, featherweight, or lightweight. I'm not sure what it's called right now. But long story short, that thing is like 7.75 pounds for a 12 gauge. My deer rifle is a 1967 model Ruger Model 77. So my field gun and my deer rifle are old guns.
I mean, I think that's one thing that's really cool about guns. And I mean, that's one reason to move into higher end knives, or at least high quality knives. Like I feel like this happens with good buck knives. Is their heritage. I mean, their heritage items are something that can become heirlooms, and you can. I feel like when you have something that's an heirloom, you treat it differently. I mean, it's true of watches too. Like for years I just had watches that I used and destroyed and threw away. And when I finally got a watch that was like, oh, this is like a watch that will last as long as I take care of it, you just have a different attitude about it. And I think that's a better way of living. I mean, it's kind of a big question to talk about that, but in general, I mean, that's one of the things that I love about firearms is so many firearms manufacturers are still concerned with that long view of patrimony, you know, of caring about future generations and the guns that hopefully they'll be getting someday.
Hancock, really quick. Kelly wanted me to ask what address you shipped that to. I guess she has two addresses, 1324 or 1107. Do you know?
The first one that I received.
There you go. The first one he received. We got a few new people in there. Is your sixth covered? Just join the chat. Christian Davidson, I'm not sure if I called you out or not before. He was talking about going to the Kershaw sale this weekend, which is one of those events that I've always wanted to go to. Since we were talking Kershaw earlier, they have a factory sale twice a year, or excuse me, once a year, typically around this time of year, where they sell factory seconds. And you can get crazy deals. Like I got a ZT-801 last year from a guy. I have a friend that lives in Oregon, Alex Dietz. He's actually now a custom knife maker, but
Oh
he,
yeah,
he used to
awesome.
pimp knives and stuff. And he actually picked me up an 801 ZT 801 for like it was like $70 or something, you know. And
That's
at the time, it was like a $200 knife. And I got a Kershaw Leak for my life, like the purple one, like the anodized aluminum handle one, and it was like $18.
yeah.
That's stupid. You can get a lot of really good prices.
So, guys,
And Kershaw
is this
guy,
at the Kershaw factory or?
yeah, they do it right at the factory, and people camp out, you know, to get in line because all the good stuff goes right away, you know, because there'll be ZTs there that are blems, and honestly, you can't even tell why it's a blem. There's like that 801 I had it was perfect. There was nothing wrong with the knife, and it just goes to show how high their standards are for production because most of those blems are going to be just as good as any other knife you buy from Kershaw, and you know they just don't carry the factory warranty because they have that blem mark on them. They have like 4 little X's on the blade.
Right.
You got a leak random for $1. That's great. A random leak was like pretty expensive leak at the time, I think, because it has I believe that has S30V steel, but anyway, it's a cool sale, and I've always wanted to go to it because they always have such good deals. And you know, I have that friend up there, and he goes, but I haven't talked to him in months, so I don't know, you know, what he's doing with that.
From my side of the country, that'd be worth having somebody to go up there and camp, give them $100 to camp, and then give them $1,000 to spend. Do you know what I could do at a gun show at that kind of prices?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Kershaw guy. Here's the deal, and it's changed because Kershaw guy used to sell a ton of those blems. He used to kind of get first dibs. I don't know about first dibs, but he and a couple other dealers would always get like kind of a first look at all of them. He'd buy like a huge inventory of the blems and sell them. And you can go on his website right now and he has blems for sale.
Yeah.
And that's where he gets them. He gets them from the Kershaw factory sales. Like so this is like open to the public where he told me last year because I speak with Dave over email quite often just about, you know, he's got some insider information a little bit, so I try to pull stuff out of him. But he said that last year they didn't let him do it. He had to go wait in line like everyone else, so he didn't get nearly as many blems as he has in the years past. Which I like that they did that for him because that gave people that didn't live in Oregon a good chance at a good, you know, blem. So you're lucky, Christian, because you're close by, obviously. My wife's from there, and we've got a friend that lives up there, and every year I talk about crashing at her place and going up to that sale and meeting up with Alex and, you know, hitting up the sale. So I just never do it because it costs money to travel there.
No,
I
and
Long drive, and
I have family out there, and it would be worth a flight to go visit the family. And yeah, I would have a camp tent set up and ready.
yeah, I think that'd be fun. We used to meet myself because Mario is over in New York, you know. When there was a Kershaw sub forum on Blade Forums, it's now gone because of a lot of drama. But a bunch of us, like Caffeine Junkie, I think was one of them, and a couple other guys, we talked about doing like a big road trip, you know, all meeting up and going out to the Kershaw factory sale one year, and you know, just be fun. And it'd be like going on, you know, like when I was younger, I used to go to a lot of concerts, and we'd camp out overnight to get tickets, you know. I mean, that's way before the age of Ticketmaster. Well, actually, it was Ticketmaster, but you know, you couldn't buy them online, and you couldn't.
Not to cut you off, but seriously, for like knife junkies, if it's all the way over in Oregon, you just get a bunch of dudes coming from New York or like myself, Kentucky. I would do that stuff. I would jump in. Well, I would fly halfway, meet somebody with a car, throw some money in the gas tank.
Yeah, it's a 13-hour drive from where I live, so it's not that close still.
I would love to be able to do something like that too. I mean, it'd just mostly be circumstances. If I found a ticket out there or something for cheap, it would be great. I was gonna say though that Spyderco has a second sale too, and there's like, I mean, it's an equally obsessive following. Like some dude camped overnight there before they even opened the doors.
Yeah.
And they gave him like a really nice map. I think they gave him a ZDP Cali 3 or something. And
See, that's a lot closer to me. They're in Golden, Colorado. That's way closer than going to Oregon. So maybe I need to do that.
I saw one dude who said that he got a carbon fiber paramilitary 2 with S90V steel, which is like one of the holy grail paramilitary 2s.
Oh yeah.
$100.
How much?
$100.
I didn't hear you. Cut out what?
$100.
Oh my gosh, those things go for like $700 on eBay. Wow.
You can turn it around and make $500 like that, like no problem. So I mean, there were some crazy deals. I mean, a lot of stuff that you can't find very easily either too. Like I really want the Cali 3 and Super Blue steel, and I'm pretty much just waiting for a good used example to come up because I'm not going to pay crazy prices for it from a dealer.
Yeah, there's a lot of Spyderco collectors out there too. Probably even, I would be willing to bet that it's probably higher amount of collectors of Spydercos than even Kershaw's. I would probably put money on that because paramilitary 2s. There's a lot of they do all those sprint runs.
Yeah.
No, I guarantee you that the Spyderco people are a lot more. It's funny to say, but tenacious than the Kershaw people.
I think that Kershaw has a much wider audience, and they have a much more collector mentality than like Benchmade. I mean, like Benchmade's like I had a conversation with Andrew Jean, the Edge Observer, recently, and he said that he thinks Benchmade's kind of like the Xerox of knives, where it's just they're super ubiquitous. And like I have a ton of respect for Benchmade. I love Benchmade, but like they're definitely not treated as collector's knives the way that even a lot of the Kershaw guys collect Kershaw knives. And I think it's even more true with Spyderco. I don't think Spyderco produces nearly the same volumes as Kai.
I hate to say this. It's stereotypical, but all the rednecks in Kentucky, if you buy a Benchmade, it's for life.
Yeah.
It's a tool. It's not a collector's item. It's not anything. It's just a tool.
Yeah. And it's great that they can do that.
I mean, reality is a knife is a tool. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But isn't it interesting, and it's the same with watches, Andrew, you can attest to that, and it could be said about the same about guns, that all of those things are very collector-oriented, items. Like, really, a knife is a tool, and a watch is something that tells time. You know what I mean? And if you look at it like that, it's like, really? You have how many watches? 20, 30? Like, you have 40 knives? Why do you need 40 knives? If you think of it from someone outside perspective, But, this is funny because I had this conversation, funny enough, with my mom the other night, and she was talking about purses. She has a lot of, like, really expensive purses, like Coach and Dooney and Burke and... I don't even know all these brands because obviously I have nothing to do with purses, but she was talking.
Don't you lie. You're carrying a purse daily.
I don't carry a man purse, no. I've thought about having a little
bag. We need
to
see a video on your purse collection stat.
Yeah, but really like the subject, because my wife was really interested in buying like a Coach purse, and it's her 30th birthday this year, and I thought, let's get her, I know you want a really nice purse. We have a Coach outlet close to us, so I could at least afford an outlet one,
Yeah, right.
And
yeah.
My mom was talking about, the max price you should pay for high-end purses this much money, and I just kind of chuckled. I said, you know what, it's not any different. And my mom's big into shoes, too. She has, like, hundreds of pairs of shoes, Same kind of thing. People collect shoes. People collect purses. It's like people collect pretty much. You can find anything and collect it, really.
Right.
And the same kind of parameters kind of apply when you're talking about. It's a really funny conversation. I said, yeah, it's the same way with knives. There's certain price I'll pay for knives, and I won't go over that price. And But it's definitely worthwhile, I think, to pay. Like we were talking about, the Sabenza is a good example where that's a knife you're going to have forever because they give you a lifetime warranty. They will do a spa treatment on it if it gets all scratched up, if the blade gets jacked up. They'll basically make it like new, and it's something it's an heirloom quality thing. You can hand that down. Same with like a Rolex, like you reviewed on your channel. Or even like a nicer, like your Hamiltons you have, or even my Seikos that I have. You know what I mean? Like, those are still really nice watches that I'll probably hand down to my kids.
Oh yeah, for
They're
sure.
still high quality, and it's the same way with my Sabenza, even my traditionals. My traditional knives are all, I think, really high quality knives, and if I hold on to them, which I hope I will, I'll pass those down to my son. So it's that heirloom quality, and it's the same way with firearms. You can buy a inexpensive high point that will shoot and do the job, but you're not going to hand that down like you would your Ruger Red Label shotgun. Let's say,
Right.
That's a really nice little runner. Just an example. Like, it's just one of those things, and I think you're right, Andrew. You hit the nail on the head. Where I won't. That's why I've kind of gone where I've gone with my knife collection and where I'm doing with knives recently, is because I feel like those are more heirloom quality than a mass-produced knife that is not that unique to me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, totally, yeah.
It's the same way with guns. I mean, I don't have. I used to have way more guns than I have now. I have a good amount, but I used to have so many, and I just kind of bought them to buy them, and now it's kind of like I'm buying. They serve more of a purpose, Like, I bought that over-under to shoot, as a trap shooting gun, and I have I have one bolt-action rifle for hunting, for long-range shooting. I have an AR-15 for defense, if necessary. I have an AK. Okay, maybe I'm a little excessive there because I have an AK and an AR.
Don't tell us everything. We
You know
know
what I
who's watching.
But I feel like I can say they all have a purpose, and they're not excessive, and it's not always the case. Like, sometimes you get a little crazy because you really don't need 40 knives, or you really don't need, but it's fun. It's a fun hobby. It's a hobby, and just like my mom's.
Well, guys, we're talking about the hobby aspect of it. How about what do we need to get our wife for Christmas? That's a good one. Because I need some pointers on that one.
Buy her a nice gun, a gun that you will be able to spend lots of time with in the event that she doesn't like it. So
you want me to move into your house? Is that what you're saying?
No, I actually, it's funny you talk about quality goods. Like, my wife wanted to get a good pair of boots for her Christmas present, so that's what we went ahead and did. Is
yes, my wife wants a $200 pair of boots.
Yeah. So we found a pair of $200 boots that we bought when the big sales were going on, and paid under $100 for them, I think. And I mean, they're very high quality. They'll be able to be maintained and resold, and the leather's all genuine. And I mean, it's almost not even about collecting stuff in some sense. It's about just having quality things. I mean, 40 knives is a situation that I can attest to just being overboard. Speaking for myself, I can tell you having 40 knives is not really something that I need. But something like just getting a nice pair of boots or a pair of shoes, like, there's a connoisseurship to that, but it's also just about, this is the kind of thing that we should be supporting with. This is the kind of, I want to support companies that are making these kind of things. I'm willing to invest in something that's a higher quality. I think that's the kind of economy that I want to support. I don't want to support a consumer, a consumption-driven economy that just all disposable things. I mean, so anyway, that's the kind of thing that my wife and I are talking about, is let's buy Christmas presents for each other that aren't crap.
No, I think that's a valid, a very valid thing, because that's why, I mean, I'm not getting that much for my wife. I mean, I bought that shotgun kind of for myself, and then, she got me that Seiko, that SK, what is it called? SK something.
Oh, 9, yeah.
Yeah, and that's that's a nice a nice gift, and it will last a long time. It'll last forever. So if I treat it right.
Oh yeah. Well, even
This
if you don't treat it right.
See, and this is a good subject. I like this because, well, first of all, Hancock, I was gonna do another shout out to my own channel because I just did a video on the kitchen knives by Kershaw. You should buy your wife those. They're like $20, and they're awesome.
Oh.
But anyway,
Yeah, thank you for getting me in trouble, but I would love them.
yeah, yeah. But she doesn't need another $20 because they're high quality kitchen knives. But my wife and I were shopping recently, and she went into this store called Lululemon. Now, I would be willing to bet most people have no idea what I'm talking about when I say that name.
Nope.
But what it is it's like a high-end exercise clothing company. Like yoga is really big, and Zumba and all these things. And my wife's pretty active in that community of doing that kind of stuff. And there's a new one that opened up here in a kind of like an outdoor mall that's pretty close to us, and it's pretty high-end stuff. They have some pretty high-end stores. And I went in, and she told me her friend actually gave her like a $50 gift card that she got for free because she's like kind of sponsored by them because she's one of the instructors, and so she got a $50 gift card to this place. I'm like, well, that's awesome. You can go buy a bunch of stuff. She's like, oh no, I can't even buy one thing for $50. We go in there, and everything is like over $100. I mean, I'm not even joking. Like a jacket is $125, and we lost Hancock.
Oh.
But I'm like, wow. I'm like, well, maybe this stuff is really high quality, right? Maybe it's made here in the U.S. and it's really high quality. So she finds something that's on sale. It was on sale for like $98, and then she used her $50 gift card. So it only ended up costing her $40. And it's a nice jacket, like an exercise type jacket or whatever. And I'm like, I'm really curious, honey, where is that made? I'm like, if that stuff's made in China, I'm going to flip my lid, And sure enough, it's made in freaking China. $125 jacket made in China.
That's good marketing right there. Holy cow.
They are making so much money.
Yeah, right. That's crazy stuff.
I mean, it's high quality. I can, you can tell by looking at it, it's high quality. But I'm like, for that much money, it should be made right here in the frickin' USA, or at least Taiwan, as we've seen with Spyderco's and such. They make really good knives in Taiwan. So, maybe, at least that. Like it says on the tag, designed in Vancouver, made in China.
Yeah. That's funny. I've had clothing that has said designed in New York City or something, but it's made in China. I mean, Chinese clothing is kind of weird because there are some places that still have like really old equipment and can manufacture really high quality things. Like I've been learning a little bit about denim recently, and a lot of salvage denim, if it isn't made in the United States or in Japan, it's coming from China. And it's definitely not as good as those other places, but I mean, I think that it's true that with a niche market like that too, it's very easy to come up with a design that's unique and has a lot of demand, and then just find the cheapest place to outsource it, right? Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's definitely good things made there. Like all the primary arms, scopes, and optics and stuff are made in China.
Yeah.
But they're really good quality. I mean, I'm telling you that their stuff is really top notch. And the key, I think, is that they oversee all production. Like Marshall, the owner of Primary Arms, he's constantly going over there, and they are designed here in the U.S. So I do think that I'm not knocking on Chinese-made stuff. I just think if you're paying that much, and that's an optic for a scope. I mean, or for a scope, for a gun, I don't mind paying $140 for a good optic. It's reasonable, But for a freaking exercise jacket,
yeah,
what I mean?
I think the clothing industry is so crazy. Like, I mean, I really can't wrap my head around so many things that I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to the prices of some pieces of clothing, no matter however you frame it. Like, I don't care that you can only get it at this store or whatever, but it's just, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's it's like that with a lot of things that it doesn't cost anything. I mean, running shoes are a great example. Like, I mean, I'm a runner. I'm not a super amazing runner, but I try to keep it up. And I mean, all these shoes probably cost $10 to manufacture. I mean,
Yeah, and they're selling for $100. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just like a ripoff.
Yeah. So when you put that in perspective, and people were complaining about paying $60-$70 for a Kershaw, it's like, well, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like the same kind of thing, like where you're actually getting something that could last your lifetime, whereas those shoes are not going to last your lifetime. You're going to wear them out.
A couple of years
That
tops.
jacket that you bought will not last your lifetime. It will wear out, So I'm more likely to spend my money on items that will last, forever versus, something that's disposable. I have a hard time spending, like my kids, buying shoes for my kids is the most ridiculous thing in the world.
I know, isn't it crazy expensive?
And they grow out of them in like 2 months, or they wear them down to nothing.
Right.
And then I gotta go buy another pair of them, and I'm like, God, that was like $60 for freaking shoes, and they're just gone in 2 months. Like,
And they're all crap. Like, I mean,
yeah,
they're all just like the junkiest things you've ever seen, and they destroy them immediately. I mean, it's so funny.
yeah, exactly. So, Hancock, we lost Hancock because his power blacked out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He lost all power. So, hey, that's actually an interesting topic. This actually just happened, and I don't know if it ever got turned on. In Detroit, Michigan, the entire power grid went out.
Holy cow.
Just a couple days ago.
I would not want to be in Detroit when that happened.
Right? Like, that's as scary as being in Ferguson right now.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, that happened, and it's just, why does this always happen in the wintertime? It seems like you always hear about these power outages. It's like, it's probably freezing cold in Michigan, and your power's out. It's just a good, thing to kind of wake up your mind, like, about being prepared and having food storage and having preps, because that could happen. And it was out for quite a long time, and I don't know when it got turned back on or if it did. I hadn't followed back up on the story, but they evacuated, like, a lot of the buildings, that had all these, office people or whatever in them, and it was kind of like a little natural disaster almost, and it was a power grid thing,
Yeah. I'm laughing because I have a bunch of friends out in California, and they got rain for the first time in like 300 years. And like, all that they did was curl up into little balls and cry. I mean, they were like afraid to drive anywhere, like the accidents were really bad, and I mean, it was just one of those things where it's like, I mean, preparedness more than anything, I think, is a state of character. I mean, there's stuff that you need to have in place, but like, I mean, come on, like, you should not be afraid of rain. If your power goes out, you should have enough wherewithal to take care of yourself and your family.
Right? Yeah. It's not even that big of a deal. Like, I'm like, well, that happens all the time. Like,
right. Yeah. So anyway, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone mentioned, and I wish Metal Trooper was in the chat tonight because I want to talk about Ferguson. Someone brought that up in the comments. You guys are going to talk about that tonight because we've talked about it in previous chats before all the riots happened again.
Right.
And then the verdict came down that he was found, innocent of charges, and people went crazy and started burning cop cars, and
yeah, it was bad.
Exactly what we thought would happen happened. And I haven't, I wish Mel Trooper was on here so he could chat because he's in that area, so he's got more probably info than we do, but what's still going on there, if it's still bad, or what the heck's going on.
Right.
But it was just crazy. Like, I stayed up that night and watched the news feed, and when they released, and why would they release that at night? Right?
Yeah,
like,
that was a bad.
Are people way more likely to riot when it's nighttime and stuff than they would in the daytime? I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. I mean, I understand the explanation that they had to like mobilize police and stuff because they were expecting riots, but like, it definitely seemed like that was a city area of more problems. I had a friend of mine from St. Louis who was there for Thanksgiving, and he said it's really scary right now down there. I mean, scary. Like you don't want to sit at a stoplight in an unfamiliar place because violent crimes are happening more. And I mean,
I've been reading little excerpts on stories that people are getting like white, just being white is getting you attacked
yeah, I mean,
because of the
it's
color.
it's just to me. I mean, and there have been plenty of black people who have pushed back and said there's no excuse for the violence. And I mean, true racial equality is going to look at the evidence of the case and not talk about the race baiting. And I think that I've been really grateful for those people to come out and make a strong stand. Like actually, comedian Kevin Hart was just tweeting about that recently. I read an article on that, and I mean, to me, there's no excuse. There's no excuse at all for the kind of violence and disturbing the peace that we're seeing when we're talking about a legal process, and we're talking about something that all of the evidence and everything is public. So, like, the point of, I mean, to me, it's been very fruitless. All the social protests, like, it's done nothing to actually further the causes that those people are concerned with. And if anything, it's painting people as being fanatics for being concerned about those things when, I mean, I have some legitimate concerns about the police state. I think that that's a tendency that we're seeing more and more. But I think that the way to address those issues has nothing to do with the way that it's being handled in Ferguson.
Oh no, it's straight crazy. I mean, I'm sorry, but
yeah,
all they're doing is giving into every stereotype that's ever been made. You know,
right.
by doing that, I mean, the way they're acting, the way they're. I mean, I'm sorry. That's where all the stereotypes come from, and then here they are just giving right into them. And I think a lot of there was an NFL player, Ben Tate. I think he plays for the Texans.
Yep.
That's what it was. He actually wrote a really good response to the whole thing. It's very well written, and there was also one on. Oh, I think I read it. Where did I read that? I think I read it to my wife the other day. There was one on Facebook that a guy was he was an African American guy, and he was like an older African American, and he had served in the Korean War or Vietnam or something, and he was just basically saying like, look, and he was being a little derogatory because he was using the N-word, you know, and he was basically saying that you guys are acting like these, you know, this word, and he's like, you don't need to, you know, you can be like me. I'm a black man that, you know, served in the military, went to college, got a degree, had a good job, just retired, have this many kids, this many grandkids, you know, contribute to society. He's like, you guys are acting like, you know, you're giving into these stereotypes is basically what he was saying, you know, and he was actually using the N-word and calling them that, you know, and
yeah.
And but there was so much truth behind it. And he's like, I'm very ashamed to be the same color, you know, as you people are, the way you're acting, you know, doing these things. He's like, you're really, and you know, a lot of people have come out and said that, like they're, you know, it shouldn't be about race, you know, and that's exactly what they're making it about to be. And he was calling out like Al Sharpton and all these freaking idiots that are, you know, causing half these problems. But one of the biggest things that someone mentioned, I think, that I've been harping on for a long time is the media is really to blame about, you know, one of the biggest scapegoats for this whole thing, the way it was handled, the riots, was the media.
Oh yeah.
You know, they caused it.
Not even in a general way, but like in a very specific way. Like journalists from the New York Times released personal information about people involved with the case. I mean, it's the kind of thing where they're not acting with integrity. They're not actually trying to do journalism. What they're doing is they're playing politics or advancing a philosophy that is questionable and certainly dangerous. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think that's an excellent point.
That's really the number one thing, and they're spurring on these riots. They're spurring on these people to act like this. They're they're putting fuel in the fire, so to speak, to get them to do this, and it's sickening. You know, it really, people have lost their lives. Like one of the witnesses that testified in the court, he was actually murdered. They found him dead, like murdered in his car, and he was a black man, a young black man. And the other guy that was his friend or something that was part of it, he was missing. They couldn't find him.
Yeah.
He was either in hiding or probably dead somewhere. And that's just, it's disgusting, you know? It really is so sad, and it's a scary place to be. You know, I wouldn't even want to be anywhere near there. You know, and it's just ridiculous. And again, it was all spurred on by the media. You know, they caused a lot of the violence. I think, you know, a lot of the violence, a lot of the deaths, a lot of the injuries could be pinned on. Obviously, those people have, you know, they're making these decisions themselves. They're human beings. They're responsible. They're accountable for their decisions. But they were very much provoked by the media. You know, and the whole thing was blown way out of proportion by the media. And like I said, you know, I've said it a few times here. You guys never even heard about the shooting that happened in Utah a week later when a black officer killed an innocent white, or you know, supposedly an innocent white boy. You didn't hear a word about it. You know, and it was the same circumstances, just flipped. Yet there's a huge double standard there. You know, it's so ridiculous, and it's because the media in Utah. No, and because the national media wasn't about to say, well, right after this happened in Ferguson, this young white boy was killed in Salt Lake City. They're not going to talk about that because that doesn't feed their agenda. You know, that doesn't get those ratings. It doesn't get all the, you know what I mean? It's disgusting. Absolutely.
I mean, I think that, it's hard to talk about this in a way that, I think there's a lot of evidence for this, but making generalizations can sound like conspiracy theory. But I really believe that there is a concerted effort in the progressive media, the liberal media, to have a social agenda. And it really, historically, there's a lot of precedence in this in other countries where the media plays a very important role in advancing an ideology. And I feel like race relations are just another way to incite social unrest, which in themselves are going to have larger consequences than just how a certain area of demographics are going to interact with each other, but it's going to really affect people's decisions and how they want, for example, the government to play a role in their lives. It seems like there's going to be a really big secondary set of effects, a domino effect kind of thing that happens if you buy into some of these narratives that are causing people to riot, you know. And it's a very very dangerous place, very dangerous direction to go. It's one of those things that I think we need to be talking about that as much as about, the violence is appalling, but what's even more appalling to me is the fact that there are people out there who are trying to make a serious argument that violence is legitimate. That kind of philosophy is what's the kind of thing that's going to bring down America. That's the kind of thing that's going to create civil war and unrest, and the kind of things that I think people have concerns about.
No, I agree. I 100% agree, and I think you're right. It's a political agenda, and they're trying to push it. And one big part of socialism is that the people rely on the government. That's a big part of that. And then not to those people that are in Ferguson meet that criteria. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I think it's even true that the kind of people who are sympathetic to the violence in Ferguson are the kind of people who have no problem with that. Everywhere. In New York City, in LA, where protests were happening in all kinds of different metropolitan areas, the people that are encouraging that kind of thing are the kind of people that are pro-socialist in some way or shape or form. They might not call themselves socialists. They might call themselves progressive. They might say that they're there's a lot of different ways you can put it, but it's amounting to the same thing, which is socialism of some form, which is really dangerous. In case you haven't studied history in the last 100 years, that does not end well.
Exactly.
It does not end well at all.
That's what's so sad, is that we have so much history to teach us, what works and what doesn't, and yet we're not learning from the history, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
That's our founding fathers of our country set forth the Constitution, the Declaration, all these things to prevent a lot of this from happening because they could see it happening in the future. They could see that, if we take away people's rights, if we have the government be in control, if the government, instead of the government serving the people, but the people are serving the government, that's going to cause the fall of America. That's going to cause the fall of this nation. They tried to prevent that, and all our current administration is doing is trying to destroy it. And they're not learning from history. They're not looking in, like you're saying, there's a lot of history that socialist countries end up falling, end up having massive wars or massive, overthrows or whatever, coups, whatever you want to call them,
The violence, and I mean, even if you're going to say, okay, like let's say someone objects and says, well, we're not talking about something on that grand of a scale, like socialist policies don't generally work very well because governments don't usually work very well. Like, the best governments are the ones that only do what they need to do. I mean, it's just one of those things it's just funny to me because it almost like represents a way of looking at government in a way that seems super unreal to me. Like, I mean, what kind of examples do you have that would make you desire to have an expansive government the way that some of these politicians are talking, I mean, do you really want those kind of decisions to be made on a federal scale all the time? I mean, it just seems like, I don't know. Yeah, it's very, it runs deep. I mean, I think that's maybe the reason why Ferguson has stayed in the public eye. I mean, of course, all the media baiting and stuff, but also because I think people are aware that there are things that are at stake in these kind of events. I mean, one thing, I'll tell you this, I don't know if this has been your experience, but I've been really happy to hear a wide spectrum of friends and family. Over Thanksgiving, we talked about Ferguson quite a bit, and I had people all over the political spectrum all saying the way that Ferguson's being handled by the media, the violence, the rioting, it's all unacceptable. I mean, I think that there's still a core conscience that a lot of Americans have, even wherever they are on the political scale, where they can smell a rat. And I feel like it's getting to the point, especially, as soon as all the violence erupted after the announcement was made, it was one of those things where it was like, it's pretty hard to justify the behavior that came afterwards in good conscience, in my opinion. I don't know if you can talk about it much.
Yes, I can't even begin to fathom that people will be okay with it. You know what I mean? We talked a lot about it too. And most of my family is conservative, Republican, I guess. I don't know if they're all Republican, but they're conservative. They're not going to be okay with any of this crap. And yeah, I think you're right. I think most Americans don't agree with it. But the sad thing is there is the ones that do.
Yeah.
The sad thing is that the major media outlets are all, run by those people that are okay with
there's
that.
been a huge amount of money and influence that,
yeah.
I mean, dangerous.
I used to follow CNN on Facebook just to get news updates. I absolutely have to unfollow. I unfollowed them. I said, you guys are ridiculous. I cannot believe the crap they're reporting. It's just garbage, and it's all left-wing, and it's all for, was there more evidence that Darren Wilson was, Darren Wilson was him and his wife were having a baby, and the reaction from people on Twitter and Facebook was just disgusting. I mean, people were saying the most evil things, like this guy should never, we should kill this baby, or we should, this guy shouldn't be allowed to have children because he's a racist. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, listen to yourself. That's really coming out of your mouth?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No, it's like, wow. This guy has every right to have children and to be a father, and I mean, I support him all 100%. But like, even if you didn't support his actions, if you were questioning them, you're gonna tell me that the kid he shouldn't be allowed to have a baby?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
When you have all these people in Ferguson that probably have 10 different fathers, 10 different mothers. You know what I mean? This mother has all of her kids have a different father. I mean, look at Michael Brown. Michael Brown's family is like the epitome of like hood rat. You know what I mean? Like, the mom is going to be charged with assault. The stepdad is now going to have charges filed against him. It's like, yeah, that's epitome of a good family right there. I mean, you surprised the guy turned out the way he did? No, I'm not, you know. But
I mean, my heart goes out to that family. I mean, his dad seems genuinely heartbroken. I mean, there's just lots of tragedy all around. There's no question about that. But, like, there's also no excuse. Like, no excuse at all. I mean, there's no way around it that we need to set some lowest common denominators as a nation and have standards that refuse to cross into violence and disturbing the peace and this kind of completely fruitless social protest. I mean, if all of those people were actually just interested in corrections reform or whatever, how you wanted to describe it, like, and they actually put their energy towards, you know, trying to legitimately support the police and law enforcement and utilizing their resources in a way to actually build up the community, like, it would be, I mean, a lot of the things that these people are concerned about would actually probably be taken care of. I mean, it just is so backwards to me that you use violence to, I mean, you use violence in response to violence this way. I mean, against your own people. I mean, we're not talking about warfare or anything like that. And that's the other thing that pisses me off is when you hear people talking about this, like, this is a class uprising of oppressed people responding to a tyrannical nation. I mean, that's just all like a freaking false narrative, like, period. Like, end story, like, you're bullshitting straight up if you think that's what's going on in Ferguson. It's just violent rabble-rousers responding in the wrong way to a tragic situation, but a situation that in no way calls for more violence.
yeah, they're absolutely destroying their own home where they live. They've destroyed it. My wife made a funny comment because one of the first things that was looted and destroyed was a Little Caesars pizza, and she's like, what are they doing? They're not going to be able to get a hot and ready pizza when this all blows over. They're not going to be able to get a $5 pizza, you know? And
Yeah, I know, right.
it's just stupid. It was a funny comment, but it was so true. It's like they're destroying the place they live. Who wants to go into their house, their home, and just completely destroy the inside of it, you know? Yeah. And that's what they're doing. They're turning their city that was probably not the best. I mean, I've never been there, so I can't say, but you know, probably not the nicest place, and they're making it into like just a freaking trash hole, just a dump, you know? Yeah. And they're doing it themselves, and that is so crazy to me. You know, it's like, why would you want to destroy your home? Why would you want to destroy the place where you live? Why would you want to burn down local businesses that you should be supporting?
Legitimate local businesses.
Yeah.
That have nothing to do at all. It's just collateral damage. I mean,
it's crazy. It really, really is crazy. I mean, and then they're attacking their own people. It's like Americans attacking Americans is, you know, I mean, it happens all the time, you know, with stuff. But in this kind of a scenario, you know, it's not like we're fighting terrorists. They're not fighting terrorists. They're fighting, you know, other Americans. They're fighting other people in their own community.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, it's ridiculous. But, well, anyway, I think we'll, unless you have any other topics, I think we'll kind of wrap it up. It's been about 2 hours. So.
Yeah, I think I better hit the sack, actually. I'm pretty shocked. So it's been fun, though. It's been really good.
Yeah, you know, it was a good chat, especially because we came into it with like 0 topics and really any plan. well, we can pat ourselves on the back for that one. But, I want to do a quick shout out to everyone that's in the comments in the chat right now. Gear Griden 19, 50 Stitches Steel, Diggin' Dixie, is your 6 covered, Ben Long, Fringe Sniper, is your, let's see, try not to repeat the same people twice, Skywarp 41, Kelly Parks, Griffin Davidson, everyone, thanks for stopping by Marbles, something or other. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Appreciate you coming out, and look forward to next week. I think we'll be on. I don't know that I have anything going on that would prevent me from having the chat next week. So.
Okay, cool. I think I'll be around.
Cool, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thank you.